yesterday or the last class that we have discussed on Saturday, we have understood the basic looping structures, right? One like what is for loop, while loop, do while, and all that, right? So we came to a conclusion about control statements, that what are the different control statements available. We also understood what are access specifiers, where we had public, private, protected, and default. And after that, you understood what is for loop, what is for each loop, what is do while, and while loop, continue, break. All that statements we have seen yesterday, right? So we are going forward and we are trying to understand a very important topic, very important for your interview perspectives. And most of the interview, you can say there is no interview questions without this topic. Okay, arrays, very important to understand and to do problems, solve problems. Okay, so if you see eBox as a platform, which the problems which are there in 2D array and 3D array are very, sorry, 1D array and 2D array are like a little challenging. So you need some good understanding of this to make sure that you understand the topics properly. Okay, just give me a moment. There is some background disturbance. Just a moment. Okay, so we'll start the today's class. To start with, I'm starting my editor. So the editor which I'm using is a version of Eclipse. Here we have it as a Spring Tool Suite. It's a professional development tool for Spring applications. So you can use Eclipse for your convenience, or if you like to use STS, you can use Spring Tool Suite also. Okay, it's your wish again. So what is Eclipse or IDE brings in is the ease of code. A lot of suggestions, shortcuts are allowed so that you can type fast, compile, generate redundant code, and you get good performance and good time saving tactics by using this editors. Okay. So officially, any company that you are joining, most of them will be using one or the other editor. It depends on whether it is IntelliJ, IDEA, or Eclipse. These are the major choices that other corporate companies take in place. Some companies might also have Visual Studio Code as the choice. Okay? It depends on it.
పవర్ లేనట్టుంది సార్.
Those please join with your numbers, okay, your register ID numbers. If you are not joining with your numbers, means it is instructed to remove you from the meeting. So I will be removing these people who are not joining with their IDs. Okay, so if you are again joining with the same IDs, it will be blocked. Okay, so please join with your registered email IDs so that avoid getting blocked or removed from the meeting. So ensure you join with your registered address or registered what to say roll numbers. Okay, please do that. Otherwise, um, your links will be blocked if you're joining again with some other name, random names. Okay, please use your registered IDs to join your meeting. This is the instruction given from the college, so everybody should follow this. Somebody has joined something like this, you are also not allowed. So please join with a proper registered ID, register ID. Okay. Okay. So we'll start the class. So first thing first, we are going to understand what is array first. Okay. What is an array? Why should we go for array and all that? Then we'll understand what is 1D array, how to declare a 1D array, how to read values to declare to 1D array, how to print values from 1D array. Then we go for 2D arrays. What is the need of 2D arrays? How to initialize, how to read 2D arrays, how to print 2D arrays, how to process 2D arrays like searching of element or sorting of elements and all that. After this, there is one more topic that I've missed out, which is called as jagged arrays. Okay, jagged array. So these are very important topics that you should never miss in this in today's session. Okay, so once I finish this, if I get a time, then I go for the other topics. Most probably I'll be spending much time here. In case if I get time, I go for what are functions and what are built-in functions available. Okay. Okay, so I'll go to my editor and yeah. Okay, so here I create a new class. So because we are doing a new topic, I create a new class called as a demo file. So what does demo file deals with is arrays. Okay, demo 5. So here I want a main method. So I just type main control space. I get a main method. Then I want so now I have to declare or initialize my 1D array. Okay, what is array? Basically, I will go for what is array. So previously you've understood what are variables, right? What are variables? Variables are used to declare, say, for example, int a is equal to 10. So what is a? A is a variable of type integer. A is a variable of type integer, which holds some value, that is 10. In the memory, there will be a variable called a created. A will have a value 10 stored inside that. Okay, so this is how we used to store an integer variable. But now, if the requirement is, I want to store all the roll numbers of um, all the roll numbers of your class, or all the um, entries, or all the people who are there in your class. In case I want to make that records, right? So I have to use some collection kind of activity, because I have to store all roll numbers, or I have to store all the marks. So something like that. So if I want to create that, what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to create an array. Okay. So why array? Because array is nothing but it is a storage space where I store similar data type, or we can also call it as a contiguous memory block, which stores data of similar type, or data of one specific type. Say, for example, I have integer, so I can create integer array and store all the integers. Okay. Um, Say I can create a string array and I can store all the strings in it, or I can create double array and I can store all the floating values, or double values inside that. Or I can also create something called as object array, and I can store all the objects inside that also. It depends on me how I can create an array. Okay. Say, for example, I want to store integer array. Maybe I will go with the integer array, where I want to store values with same name. Say, for example, marks of a students, right? All the students' marks I want to save. Then I will go with a simple array called as marks. Okay, so I'll declare something called as int marks. Okay, what is marks? So marks is a array. Okay, so like what are the different marks which I'm having? I am having values like, say, 12. I have 15. I have 19. I have 18. Something like this. Okay, so these are values of type integer, and I'm storing that in an array called as integer array. Okay, integer array. So in Java, there is a convention. Okay, in Java, there is a convention to store these type of values. Okay, so what is the convention that we can use to store this type of values is, or how to declare an array in Java is, so it is very simple. The way you read it, the same way you need to write it. Okay, what do you need? You need integer array or string array. So I will write integer array, integer array, and name of the array. Okay, integer array, name of the array. What is the name? So I can give marks. Okay, I was using marks, so I can give marks only. Okay, marks. So this is an array which I create, which is of integer type. Okay, how to initialize this? Okay, so this is how I declare it. what did I do? I declared one-dimensional array of type marks. So there is no rule that I have to create only integer type of value. I can also create something like string array of names. Now what did I do? I created a string array of type names. Okay, of the value names. What are the names? All the names will be strings in nature. Okay, I can also declare something called as object array. Object array, say some objects. I can also do this. Okay, so I can create integer array, any class type of array, or any object type of array in Java, right? So this is how I declare it. So how do I initialize it is very important. Okay, so to give values to this or assign some values to this, I can just write a flower bracket and give values like comma separated values. Okay, I can do this. Okay, if it is names, I can again do the same thing. I can give invert like a normal flower braces and give values in a double quote. Say for example, I have so I can give something like this. Okay, I can give something like this. Very simple, right? I can do this, or I can have objects. What are objects? Say you want to store some objects in this. Say, for example, demo 5 objects only you need to create. Okay, so you can again go and create an array of demo 5 objects. So how do? You just create new demo 4 of. Okay, this is one object. Then I have new demo 4 of. So this is another object. So I can store objects inside array. Objects inside array. Okay. So what did I just do? I just declared an integer array and string array and an object array. How can I initialize? I can directly initialize with giving some values. Giving some values in a flower brace. It represents one-dimensional array. Okay. But this is what we don't want to do in Java, right? We never write some values like this. We don't statically declare them. Rather, we tend to read them from the user. User is supposed to give the values, and dynamically, I want to store those values. Okay, but like what is basically array? Array is like continuous block of memory. I was saying, right? So now, if I want to create an array of some size, okay, if that is the task, then this will not be in picture, because if I write int marks is equal to some values, how many values you give in this, that will be the size of the array, right? The size of the array cannot be defined in this way. Okay, so what is the size of an array? If somebody asks, it is 3. It is fixed in nature because it is not dynamic. But you want to make it dynamic, or you want to give some size. It's your wish size you want to give. Then we can go with the traditional or the best practice way of doing it in Java. So I just show you that. So now I will just declare a value or initialize a integer array of some size. Say I will do integer array of some name. So again, I will take the same name marks. Okay. But I don't know how many students marks I want to store. I don't know how many students are there, how many marks I have. So I will dynamically create some size, but I know what is the total strength of the class. Maybe 100 is the total strength of the class. So what I do, I use new keyword, new, and I will use new int of, and I give 100 as the size here, new int of 100. So what is that I am doing? I am creating a size of 100. So I'm creating an array of size 100. Why new keyword? Because you are creating a new array. You are creating a new array of what type? Of integer type. Okay. What is the size of it? 100 is the size. So I have integer array of marks of size 100. And what is the type of it? It is an integer type. Okay. So now if you see how this looks in memories, by default, if you don't give any values, all the values which are there in marks will be 0 by default. The initial value of this array will be 0. There will not be any values. It will be 0. So I'll just show you that. So I'll just put the debug point here. I'll just show you. See, when the execution starts. So initially, you're seeing this variable itself is not there. The moment I execute this, can you see marks? Marks is an array which is having 100 size, and all the values are 0 by default in the first place. But it is already 0. Okay, so 99 elements are there. The index starts from 0 until 99. All the values will be 0. All the values will be 0. So what is the disadvantage of doing this? Means you are initially saying or initially defining that you are defining a size of 100. Means you are saying I want array of size 100, but you have only 5 students or you have only 10 students. Then it is a problem, right? Then it is a problem because so those who are not joining with your roll numbers, I am removing them. Sorry, that is the instruction that is given from the college management. So if you are not joining again with your numbers, I will be removing you from the meeting or blocking you from attending the meetings. So sorry, but that is what I instructed to do. Okay. Okay, fine. So coming back, so here already I defined size of 100, but I am using only 20 memory blocks in it. And it is a waste of memory, right? Nobody is utilized or nobody is made use of that remaining space of memory. So for integers, 4 bytes of memory will be there for each element. And if you see an array of 100 size, 100 into 4, so it will be around 400 blocks of memory or 400 bytes of memory would be reserved, and nobody is using those kind of those memories. So it will be ultimately waste of memory. So to avoid that, you can take like depending on the user's need, user can take an input. Okay, so I can use scanner class to read inputs from the user. Okay, so scanner C equal to new scanner of okay. So now you have some values to import. This is not the right package. There is some import that is pending. You can use a shortcut called as Control Shift and O. So automatically it will show which are the packages which are there and which one you want to import. You can directly choose it and import. So that is also there, or it's your wish. Okay. So here I can take one number, say size of integer, size of array. Size of an array is equal to, you can use sc dot next int of. So you can read the integer size, then you can use that as the value to create this. So that every time when you are executing, you know how many students are there. Depending on the number of students, you can create an array. So this makes sense. Okay. So that you will at least save some memory blocks, which is been wasted. But one disadvantage is if you create a smaller size array, the array size will not increase in its nature. Means it will say there are, you decided 20 students and you created a array of 20 size. Tomorrow the 30 students are joining, so you cannot make use of this. Again, you need to read input and again you need to give 30. So then only this code will work. Otherwise, it will not work for you. Okay, so that is one disadvantage of going for arrays. Arrays are static in nature. It will not, size of the array will not grow dynamically. It is static in nature. Okay, so this is the first point, how to declare an array. one-dimensional array. Now, next is how do I read values into one-dimensional array? So if that is the next question, then you know how to do it, right? So you already know it's a continuous block of memory, one after the other, one after the other. You have memory, and it is indicated by index values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can use that as a technique, and you can use a for loop for say int k is equal to 0, right? I can use k less than marks dot length, means length of this array, marks dot length of the array, then I, or you have k plus plus. So this is a loop which is used to iterate over marks array. So this is k, okay, marks array. Now what you'll do, you'll read values one by one into this. Okay. So how do you read it? Again, I'm using this line here, or the same statement which I've used here, because it's an integer array. You will actually use integers only. You will read only integers. So I will use marks of I. So marks of I is nothing but the first index of this value, or you can say k. Now, marks of k is nothing but marks of 0, means the first index, what should be the value? So that is what you need to read from the user. Whatever user gives, that you keep it in that. Okay. So this is how I read the values from the user. Now you already know what is the best way to print things out from an array, that is using for each loop. So elements in array are I'm using just elements in array R, then I will use a for each loop. So you know what is the value every time it returns? It is one integer value, colon. Then what is the array name? It's marks is the array name. So that's it. So here I will just do system.out.println. Instead of writing println, I'll write print, so that it will give the one-dimensional array look. Okay. And I will use marks of I. Marks of I. That's it. So now, once you run this program, what do you get is, so you will actually come and read the values. So what is the size of the array you are supposed to read? So I'll give 5 is the size of the array and hit enter. Now it comes and reads and creates array of size 5. It is created array of size 5. You can see there are 5 elements here, right? And all of them are by default zeros in nature. So now you are supposed to read the input. So next int will read the integer input and store it in marks of k. What is that? In the first index, I am storing the first value. So first value I can choose to give 10. So I'm giving 10. You can see in the marks array, the first value is 10 now, right? So next thing is you are reading again the value. Now I give some 54 and hit enter. Now the second element will be 54. So similarly, you can give all the values that you are looping for, 85 and 75. Yeah. So now the last element, that is 55. So I am reading only the 5 elements. So my task is done. It is saying elements are the elements of the array are, and it will just print all the values one by one. Okay. So what was the first value in the marks? It is 10. So it keeps printing. Uh, okay, it should print all the values. Some error. So what is the error in line number 14? It says index 10 out of bonds for length 5. Okay. What does it say? It says exception in thread main, denote or 5 main, and number 14. Okay, this is marks of I. Marks. Okay, I'm printing marks of I because this is wrong, right? Because I just want to print I. Marks of I says the index of that. So that is a wrong thing. I just have to print I so that I'll get all the values which are there present inside the mm, one-dimensional array. Okay, so now I just go and run this and give the values. Okay, so I just tend to give values like size of the array is 5, and I give values for it 25, 35, 45, and 65. So now you can see elements are you are able to see all the values printed, but without space. So generally, if you want that space to be given, you can just go and give one space so that you will get that exact value, exact output that you're looking for. I want only 4 values now. So 25, 35, 45. Okay, you can see elements of the array are 25, 35, 45, and 55. So this is an example of one-dimensional array. So basically, one loop I am using to read all the inputs, and another loop to print all the values out. Okay, so why two loops? Because initially there are no values present inside the array. So that is why you need to read values and store inside them, right? After you store them only, it becomes an array which is formed. After forming an array, then you are printing all the elements inside the array. Okay, so this is called as one-dimensional array. Any doubts in 1D array? Anyone who's there in the call? Any doubts in 1D array? You can ask in the chat window. Are you able to understand 1D array? Okay, somebody says once again explain. Okay, 1D array. Okay, 1D array is very simple. We call it as one-dimensional array also. Okay, one-dimensional array also. So what is 1D array basically, and how to declare 1D array? I will just again tell you. So pay attention. So yeah, you know this, right? This program, just a main method I have. I have nothing other than that. Now, somebody asks you, hey, write a 1D array. It's nothing but integer. What is integer array? You want integer array, string array, object array? It is your choice. Okay. So I have an integer array. Okay, and I can give the array name. It can be anything. Like it can be your name also, like Rahul. Okay, integer array of Rahul. Rahul is the array name, and I can just give a flower bracket and give values also. This is also proper. I think this you already did in your C, C++ programming. You can directly go and write this. So this is also valid, but we tend to not do this because we don't want to give values just like this. This is also 1D array. This is also valid only, but nobody will give a static value like this. Static values, nobody will give. Nobody will have a requirement like this. So what I will do is I will create an array of Rahul of some size. If you want to give some size, you don't know what is the size, you want to give some size, then you can use new keyword, new int of. Okay, new int of. Why int? Because you're creating an integer array. Okay, new int of, because you're creating an integer array, and you can specify the size here. Maybe 10 is the size you are looking for. You don't know what is the value of this, then you can take input from the user, what size he wants to create, and you can create it. Okay, so that is again, it's an optional one, right? If he wants a size of 10, he can create 10. If he wants 20, he can create 20. Okay, this is how I dynamically create array. What is the syntax? Integer array of name of a array is equal to new int of. Okay, now tell me, how do I create a string array? So string array is nothing but what is the data type? What is string? String array of names. You can give anything. Okay, say like Balu. Balu is equal to new string of give size of it, say 10. Okay, it depends on what type of value that you are creating, what type of array you are creating. Okay, so what is the default value of string? What is the default value of string? By default, string will have null value in it. Okay, null value in it. Say for example, I'm I've created two arrays. I will say what is the default values of them. If it is an integer, default value of integer will be 0 every time. Okay, say 10 size array is created and all the elements are 0 in nature. If that is the same with integer, then you go and see it will be null in nature. It created 10 elements, but all of them are null, 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 null in nature. Are you able to understand this? Is it making sense for all of you? So this is one-dimensional array where we are declaring a size of an array and we are not saying what values that we are storing. By default, null will be stored for strings, and by default, some value 0 is stored for integers, because for integer default value is 0. Imagine you are doing a float. Okay, you are doing float array of some name. Maybe I will use ABC. Some name is equal to new float of and you're giving 10 as the size. Now, what is the default value of float? Default value of float 0.0, 0.0. Okay, so that will be the by default value of ABC. All the elements in the ABC will have 0.0. You can see 0.0, 0.0, 0.0 everywhere. These are the default values of an array. Okay, how do you read values into the array? You can use loop, because there are 10 elements. There are 10 elements, so you need to iterate 10 times. So instead of writing 10 statements, you can directly go and write like this. Say Rahul of 0. Rahul of 0 is equal to, I can give some value, say 9. I can give like this. So this is also valid. But there are 10 elements. I don't want to individually give 10 values. Okay. So then I can go with a looping statement. So I'll use for loop to read the inputs. Okay, for int I is equal to 0, less than length of the Rahul. So that is a size of the array. Rahul dot length, and I'll use I plus plus. This is the syntax for loop. All of you know this, right? Now I am reading the values. What is the value that I want to read? That is integer value. So I will use scanner. I need scanner instance now. So I'll create scanner object. Scanner sc or scan is equal to new scanner of system dot in. So this is how I am reading the input. Now I will use scan dot next int of, because I am reading an integer value. So I will use next int of. Okay, next int of, and I will store it in Rahul first index. Okay, Rahul's first index. That is Rahul of I. Okay, why I am using? Because first time I will be 0. That is first index. I will store some value that you are reading. Next time when the loop repeats, in the second index, I will be incremented. In the second index, I will store value. Third index, I will store value. Fourth index, I will store value. Similarly, I keep storing the values inside this. Okay. So that I'll have all the values stored in this Rahul. Then same thing, how to print it out? Because you already know it's just present in Rahul. Rahul is an array. You can directly use a for each loop. For it is an integer value, because Rahul is an integer array. So you will use integer some value. Say some value of printing colon. You can use the name of the array. Simple name of the array. Now it is there. Now you can directly go and write system.out.println and of value. So whatever values that you are reading, those values will be printed here. So if you use print, you will get everything in one line. So that's why I'm using print, so that I'll get everything in one line. Okay. So now what I can do, I can just run this code and see what happens. I need to give what is the value. By default, the size of the array is 10. So I just need to give 10 values. So I'm just giving all the 10 values now, so that it will take an array of 10 size and print all the values for me. Okay, so this for loop is to read all the 10 values. This for loop is to print all the 10 values. This is a for each loop. I told you yesterday, right? What is for each loop? Any doubts? Any doubts? You can ask me in the chat. No?
Hello.
Yeah.
Mr. Junior calling.
Sir, can we declare array without creating object?
You can declare without creating object. That is possible. But it is recommended to do this way. You can declare an array with some size. That is also possible. If, for example, you want an array of size 10, you can go and declare array of size 10. That is also possible.
Can you demonstrate one?
I have integer array of size 10.
మంచిగా తీసుకెళ్ళన్నాడు.
Does names of 0 is equal to now what I just did is I just had a names array just declared without using this new keyword. Okay, without using this new keyword. And what I just did, I am just trying to initialize these values, or you can directly do it here with the flower bracket, which I was doing before. You can do it that way. So here, basically, why I am not giving any size here is, see how many elements you tend to save it. Okay, so that will be the size of this array. So now I'm having only the two elements here, if you are observing. So now what happens is this names one and names two would have two values in it. So by default, your size of an array would be 2 in nature. Okay. Restart. Okay, I'm specifying it to null.
Sir?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Sir, why you took null, sir? You took null on names.
No, see, generally, if you are giving int array of some names, okay, so it's like you're just declaring an array of some anonymous size, okay, and you're not initializing the values, So previously, I was initializing it like this, right? So this is the way we just without giving the new keyword, if you want to declare and initialize, we generally do it this way. Okay, now what is the size of this array will be decided by what are the numbers that you are having here. Okay, so whatever, like you are having 3 numbers. So whenever you are running a debug, now you will see that the array will be created of size 3. See, for example, names will be created of size 3. If you print and see what is the size of this names, it will be 3 in nature. Then you can go and have some values changed. So I have just changed 2 values, that is 85 and 95, and the third value remains same. So the size of the array remains same. In case if I don't give this value or don't say what is the size of it, or I don't do anything, okay, then by default your Java gives an error saying that this value or this variable that you are mentioning is not initialized in nature, not basically having any values in nature. Okay, so that will actually not allow you to proceed forward, giving some error saying that this should be initialized. You should initialize the values so that you will use it later. Okay, initialization is required. Now you can see, yeah, it is saying the local variable names may not have been initialized. It is saying that you never initialized it. So what I'm basically saying is I have to say what is the size of it. I have to create an array. See, now in the memory, if I use this line in the memory, that is not created, means the array is not created. If I use this line, right, the moment I use this line, there is 10 blocks of memory created. Right?
Naga.
Somebody
ఏమి వినిపిస్తలేదు ఏమి.
sorry, somebody is in unmuted state. Go unmute. Okay, so unless you write this line, right, unless you give values here, say for example using a flower bracket, if you are giving some values, then memory will be created for you in your heap memory. For that array there will be a block of memory created. But if you are not giving any values to this, if you are not giving any values to this, you are not initializing, then there is no memory allocated for this names array. Okay, if you are using new int of 10, right, here you are writing new int of 10. What basically happens if you are writing new keyword and int of 10 is there is 10 blocks of memory created for you. The JVM will create 10 blocks of memory and give it for you for your programming purpose. In this case, the names is not having any memory at all. There are no blocks of memory created for you to use this. Okay, so that is why we write a new keyword and create that many blocks of memory. If you don't want to use new keyword, then you have to go and specify and say, well, how many blocks of memory that I need. Maybe you need like you can go and you yourself initialize with using zeros. Okay, you can use 0, 0, 0, 0. So you are deciding that I need array of size 5. So you are supposed to initialize it this way. If you are not initializing, your memory will never be created for you, and nobody knows what is the size of an array. Okay, so that is not the best practice. You need to go and create some blocks of memory in your memory. Okay, some blocks of memory should be created for an array. So if you are doing it manually without using new keyword, you go and declare with zeros, so that anyway when you use new keyword also, there is size created with all default values as zeros. Later you can go and override this. You can change the values whatever you need according to this, according to your needs. Okay, so that is the recommended. So basically this is the way you create an array in Java. Okay, so whenever you write new int of 10, so 10 blocks of memory will be created for you for your usage. Okay. If you try to not give this value 10, your compiler will throw you error saying that please specify the size of an array. Okay, you can see, observe here. It says that a variable must provide either dimension, expression, or an array initializer. You have to just give some value to it. If you don't give value, it doesn't know how much memory it should create. Right? If you give blank, it doesn't know how much memory it should create. So you are supposed to give some size of memory that you are trying to create. Does this make sense? Yeah.
In the previous program, we have written like int size is equal to c dot next int. What is the use of this function?
Okay. Here sc dot next int will read one integer value from the user. User will enter some value. It will read that value, and that will be the size of the array. Because you don't know what is the size of an array, so you are reading from the user. User will decide, and he will give what should be the size, and that size you are using everywhere. Say for example, I will use this sc dot next int here. Okay, and I will have it as int some number is equal to sc dot scan dot next int of, right? So this value I will try to use it everywhere instead of me manually giving this value, because at runtime user will decide what should be the size of the array. Okay, so today I'm executing, I feel like I want a size of 10, but tomorrow I need 20 or 30 or 40. So to make it dynamic, means to make the program dynamic, then I'll go and write this kind of line here, so that whenever user encounters this sc.nextInt of, user will be asked to enter some input. That input will be stored in number. That number I will be using to create the size of the array. Maybe I want array of 10 size today, so I will enter 10 first. So all the arrays will be of 10 size. Next tomorrow I will execute and have 20 size. All the blocks will be 20 size. Say for example, now I'll have say now it is asking for input, so I am giving 10. So say all the sizes of this will be 10 in nature, and I have to enter 10 numbers to match that requirement. Okay. Now the last number. Okay, it is some infinite loop which is running here. It is taking all the inputs. So what there may be some probably some mistakes that we are doing. So let us see and correct it. Okay. So first thing that I'm doing is reading the value. Okay, reading the value. If you see sc dot next int. So I want only 4 elements of array. Okay, so 4 elements. Now you can see Rahul will be created of size 4. You can see Rahul is created of size 4. Okay, Balu is a string array. Now Balu will be created with size 4. You can see Balu 4. Then this ABC is another float. Again, that will also be 4 in size. All are 4 in size. Now I need to give values to Rahul. So next int, again it is asking me to enter the integer number. So I'll give integer value, say 25. Then again it will ask me to read value. Then I give 35 or 65. Then hit enter. Another 2 values I need to give. So here I give 85. And again it is asking me for a last input. So I'll give 75. Now all the values are red. Okay, so this loop will terminate and come out. Now from Rahul, so these are the values 25, 65. I have 25, 65, 85, and 75. So next I will be printing all these values out. See, I'm printing 25. Next I'm printing 65. Next I'm printing 75. And now I'm printing that is ended. So whatever I'm reading, those values will be printed. Next time I want to read 10 elements, I can use this number, and I will use everywhere 10 size will be created automatically. So I will read 10 times and I will store all the 10 values. Then I'll print all the 10 values. So to make your program dynamic, I'm using this. Hope you're clear with this. Any doubts before we proceed? Those who are there with some other names, please don't join with other names. Who's this STHG? Can you please join with the We'll go for the next topic. Not waste. of the 2D array, 2-dimensional. Already you know how to declare 1D array, how to use 1D array. Now we'll go and understand how to declare 2D arrays. Okay. So you know what is 2D array, right? In your schools and colleges, you might have learned what is matrix structure, correct? No? What is matrix? Matrix is like a tabular representation of your data. Tabular means like a table, you represent the data. So basically it will be like in your I think it would be like pictorially, I'll just tell you. So it would be something like can just take an Excel and show you. Yeah, so this will be like a 4x4 matrix. If you're taking, it will be like this. So here I just take all borders and zoom. Okay, you can see this will be your general format, right? This is how it looks like. This is your 4x4 matrix or 5x5 matrix or 5x4 matrix. So here, how do you represent this matrix? Like what do you represent in this? Some numbers or some data, some strings that you represent in this, right? So what is this called as? This entire line that I have written now. This will be one row. So this will be one row, and this will be one column. This will be one column. So you will have numbers like 0th column, first column, second column, and third column. And here also you have rows: 0th row, first row, second row, and third row, and fourth row. Right. So this is not 4x4. It can be like 5x4. Okay, like just a matrix representation. Now, if you want element which is present in this block, you will go to 0th row, right? 0th row and first column. You will get this value 5. And if you want this 4, 0th row, second column, you have this 4. So similarly, you will have data represented in a tabular form, or zeros and ones as rows and columns, basically, right? So this type of representation is called as matrix representation, or we also call it in programmatical terms, we call it as two-dimensional matrix. Two-dimensional matrix. What is 2D array? What is 2D array? 2D array is nothing but many rows of 1D array. Many rows of 1D array. 1D array. What do I mean by many rows of 1D array? See, if you are taking 2D array, this one column is nothing but 1D array, correct? No? So this first column is nothing but 1D array. Correct? What is the size of this? 4 is the size of this 1D array, correct? I'll just represent it with 4. So you can see this is one 1D array representation, 0, 5, 5, 5. So this is one 1D array, correct? So I have so many rows of 1D arrays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 1D arrays is equal to 2D array. Something like this we are representing, correct? So how to declare this in your actual matrix representation? You already might have learned in your C or C++ programming that we will use nested for loop, like for inside a for loop. So first outer for loop will be for number of rows, and inner for loop will be for number of like your columns, basically. That is how we generally use for inside a for nested for loop that we use to represent this 2D matrix, right? So okay, so let us go and understand in depth or in programmatical terms how do we declare or how do we initialize and all that. Okay, so 2D arrays just like your 1D array. So when you are declaring, you will write int. Previously, you are writing one bracket, like one array. Now it is two arrays, so you'll use two brackets. That's it. And you will use name. You will give name of the array. So it can be anything. Say you can give anything, your name. Okay, you can give H1. Okay, is equal to, you have new which type of data, whether it is integer, float, string, double, I don't know, like it's your choice. You are using int now, and you are giving the values here. Okay, so here you are supposed to give the two-dimensional matrix, means rows comma columns, how many rows, how many columns that you're deciding. So if it is 4 cross 4, you'll use 4 and 4 here, 4 and 4. So what happens here, 4 rows and 4 columns will be automatically made. 4 rows and 4 columns will be automatically made. That much block of memory will be created for you. Okay, so previously in one-dimensional array, it's a contiguous block of memory which was creating, right? Now also same thing, contiguous block of memory only will be created, but it will be created in this fashion. In this fashion, the data will be represented. You will get this kind of representation in your memory also. Okay, now the question is, okay, I have a 2D matrix. Now how do I store values in it? How do I store values in this? Okay. Can you tell me one practical use of 2D arrays in your day-to-day life? Have you seen anywhere practical use of 2D arrays? Have you seen 2D arrays? Any examples that you can give practically, like in your day-to-day life? Where have you seen 2D arrays? Say, for example, you take out your mobile screen. Okay, in your mobile screen, you have certain buttons at certain locations. Have you observed that? Like back button, or going to the next screen, or coming back, or while you're playing game, you have it in one place, that or the shooter concept, or running one and all that. You will have it at one stagnant place, correct? Say for example, this is you're playing PUBG or anything, so you have this forward going button here. So it is a fixed size, you fixed place where you can go and click on that so that you move forward. So this is for moving backward, and this is for jumping and all that, right? So there will be a specific location for you to play that game. So based on the values that based on the click that you are doing, what value present here will be understood by the program, and you will perform that action. Okay, so many times you might have lost your game only because you did not click on fire. Instead of that, you clicked on something else. Okay, so basically all this LCD LED screens that you are able to see will have pixels in it, right? Pixels per inch, PPI. Based on that only your screen resolution will be decided, correct? So those resolution will be based on your 2D array. Okay, how many pixels should go for 1 per inch, pixels per inch, we call it as PPI. So all that will go, and that basics that you will be understanding is from 2D arrays only. It's a vast image processing concept, but I'm just telling you the practical uses of all that. Okay, it is very important to understand which value is in this index, which value in this index, which value is this in this index, and all that. Okay, I'll teach you how to do that, but as of now, let us understand to store some values, here. And like for example, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, like that we will store some values. Say if you are clicking on 15, some action should happen. If you are clicking on 14, some action should happen. So those things and all you can define in your programs on based on your logic and all that. But we'll try to understand how to place those values in this array. I think you already know, you did it in C programming, or in other programs. Maybe I'll just take this as H1 as screen, so that you'll have some comparison can be done. Okay, so now I will try to read the values into this. How to read values? I need a scanner, right? I need a scanner to read values to the input, from the user. So now I will be reading those values. Just try to. Hello. Yeah. I read out. Somebody asked some doubt. Sorry, I could not get it. Please comment that in the chat window so that I can see and answer that if you have any doubt. Sorry, I've not heard your questionnaire. No problem. So I'll start. Now I have a 4x4 matrix. So I will tell you how to read values into it. It is same as 1D array. So I will use int I is equal to 0, I less than. So now there should be some criteria to say whether I have to go like what is the row size and what is the column size and all. I have to know it because I have to write a condition, but I should know it. Here I already know it is 4 in size, correct? 4 in size. So I will try to hard code it. Means I know it is 4x4 matrix. So first for loop is for number of rows. So I already know there are four rows. So I'm writing the condition confidently. If I don't know, I have to read it from the user. Okay, again. So this is for number of rows. Done. Now I have to go for number of columns also. Okay. So that's for that I will use another nested for loop, for inside for. In this I will use some variable called as j. J is equal to 0, and I write j less than. Again, I know what is the number of columns because it's already hard coded. So I'll take 4 again. Okay. Then I'll do j plus plus. So according to this, I will write my logic. So I have number of rows and number of columns. Now confidently I can put things in right place. So I will use screen of. Okay. So I value. What is the I value? First it will check the I condition. I is 0. It is less than 4. It will come inside. Again it will check the condition, come inside. So here I and j, both the values are 0 and 0. So I will just use I and j. So both the values are 0 and 0. So here what I should show, what I should say, whatever I am reading from the user. Right? Scan dot next int of. Whatever I'm scanning, I will read it, I will put it in that position. So this is what I'm trying to do. So after doing this, I have the same loop can be taken as a reference to print these things. Okay. So what I will do, as of now, I will not show you how to print it. I'll just show you how to read it. So just see here. Now I have this as a 2D array. See, can you see? 2D array is nothing but in each row there is one. This is one row. Okay. This is how many rows are there? 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 rows. There are 4 rows. Each row is having 4 elements. 4 elements. This is 1 row. This is 1 row. This is 1 row. All the values are having 0 in it because I created a 2x2 matrix. Okay. And then I am reading the values. Okay. So now I should give some value. Say I will give value as 1. Hit enter. Now it will again loop because now I value will be same, but j value will be incremented to 1. So I'm reading the first row. Okay, first row I'm reading. So I'm giving 2, 3, 4. In the first row, I want these elements. I'm saying. Okay, see it is reading all the 4 elements. Now it is done. It has finished its work. First row it has read. Now it is looking for second row. I want 5. I just clicked enter, so it is reading that enter maybe. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm thinking these 8 are the values that I need next. Okay. Next 4 rows will be read as 8. Okay. Now you can go and see how that is represented. Can you see here? 1, 2, 3, 4 is in the first row. 5, 6, 7, and next 8 will also be in the 8 will also be in the. Now you can go and see what is there in the screens. I'll give 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'll read all the values again. Then I'll give the 13, 14, 15, and 16. So these are the 16 values which I'm giving, and I'm reading all the values. Okay. See, now if you go and see the screen, now you can see, okay, first row is having 1, 2, 3, 4. Second row is having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, say 9, 10, 11, 12. Last is 13, 14. Again, two values are there. 15 and 16 will be read automatically. 15 and 16 will be read from the user. Now you can go and see the screen. All the values are proper. Screen is nothing but an array, 2D array that I've created. Okay. See, all the values are read. So this is how I created 2D array. Okay. Now I have not written any logic for printing them out. Just that I have read all the elements properly. That's it. Now, if somebody asks you, hey, you have already read, you need to print them also, right? So if you want to print them, you cannot directly go and use for each loop. Previously, you were using for each loop and all, you used to print, right? So that cannot be done here because you have again rows and columns and rows and columns, which you need to deal with. You can directly copy this for loop that you have already written, nested for loop, two for loops that you have written. You can directly copy this and paste it. Okay. Now, instead of reading, you are supposed to print. What you are supposed to print? You are supposed to print scan of I comma j. So this is what you need to print. Okay. Screen, so not scan, it is screen. And after that, you need that representation in a what you say in a matrix format. Now, if you run this, you will not get a matrix representation. If you want to get a matrix representation, then you need to do some slight changes. Instead of print, you need to use the println. You need to use print, and after printing each element, you need to give some space. And after that, each loop, you need to have a new line character, so that you will get that exact matrix representation. Okay. Now I'll just go and run it. Now my this one is to give all the numbers. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. You are able to see this matrix representation where you are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 printed. So this is called as matrix representation. Okay. This is the matrix representation which I was talking to you that you should follow while you're printing the elements out. Okay. While you're printing the elements out. Any doubts in this? Are you able to understand what is 2D array? So how to read? I have to write a nested for loop where I is the number of rows and j represents number of columns. So you have that value that you are reading, you are storing in the 0th row, 0th column.
Sir?
What is 0th row? Yeah.
Sir, instead of
Yeah.
for how to use for each, sir? For each.
Where you want to use for each? While you're printing, is it?
On 13th line, 13th, 14th line.
Yeah, 13th, 14th line. Here also you can use for each loop, but what happens in for each loop? No, it is used for one iterations only. So, for example, you have a collection of elements. It is used to iterate over that. Okay, for each means each time it will get one element from that specific array and it prints. So that is the full activity of for each loop. Okay. So when you are doing for each loop, you need to be very careful. So what you are trying to print. Okay. Say, for example, you are going and writing for each of, right? So you need to print each row first. Okay. So that is what generally comes into your mind, because this one is nothing but you have this first row. You can see first row, second row, third row, and fourth row. Means all these are rows only that you are having in your in your understanding. So you cannot directly go and catch hold of any one array. So in case you are catch holding of screen, so screen will not have the required elements that you are using to print it. Okay, it is slightly different than the normal one, right? So that is where you cannot directly implement for each loop, but you need to write a lot of understanding logic here to get it done. Okay. Okay. In case if I'm trying to do it, okay, if I'm trying to do this screen, okay, screen is now not a 1D array. So this for each loop will be applicable for 1D arrays. Okay, 1D arrays which are there with you. But now you don't have 1D array. Screen is nothing but a 2D array. Okay, it's a 2D array. It has rows and it has columns. So it is not recommended to go with for each loop. Okay. Now, it's not that you cannot do it with for each loop, but it is not recommended to go with for each loop. Just go with a normal nested for loop to get those elements printed out. Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
So can you explain that nested loops once again? Why we are using two loops?
Okay. I'll come back. Okay. So just pay attention here in this array. You know this you understood, right? This is the 2D representation of data that we are having. So I'll just delete this data. I will have 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, why do we need two loops? Okay, so I will tell you this. Okay, see this outer for loop represents number of rows. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is nothing but number of columns that you are having. So this is the 0th column. This is the first column. This is the second column, and this is the third column.
Hello, Sai Bharat.
And here row, you have this is the first row. This is the second row, this is third row, this is fourth row, and this is fifth row. So in this kind of programming paradigm, in case you want to place the elements in specific order, say here I want to place the element. So you need to put 0th row, 0th column, 0th row and 0th column, and you have to place this element here. So to go to 0th row and 0th column, right, you don't have a direct way of traversal. Direct way of traversal is not there. So imagine now I have written this nested. Why did I write the nested for loop? Okay. So here I am having I is equal to 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. What I represents is number of rows. Okay, first row I am going. So I is equal to 0. Okay, it is going for the 0th row. Okay, but in 0th row there are so many columns, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns are there. Okay, so I am going to this specific location. I'm going to this location, but in this location there are columns 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. I want to place it in one column only. First column only I need to place it.
MCS Chandu.
If that is my requirement, if that is my
Chandu garu
requirement.
unnara?
Hello, please go on mute. If somebody is talking, it is not, you are in unmute state. Please go on mute. Okay. So to go from 0th row, 0th column, only in this specific location, if you want to place a value, then you need to traverse this thing. Okay. So now initially I is 0. It is number of rows, first row and first column. I have to say which column, right? I cannot randomly go to this row and place the value because I want to also know which column I want to exactly place. Okay, 0th row, I want to place it in 0th.
Sir, you are in mute.
Sorry, somebody is muting. I don't know who did that. I'm really sorry for that. Others, please do not do that. It's not a good way. Sorry. So now in case I want to go with this 0th row, 0th column. See, in 0th row, I have so many columns, right? So we will not know in which column I need to place what data. In case you have seen in the screen, this place where you have this cancel button or close button. Can you see here in this position, we have close button, right? Close button. The moment I go and close this window will get closed. So here that 4 is representing that close button. Imagine like that. Okay. So I need to go to first row and I need to go to this position, right? To go to this position, only row value is not enough. 0 is not enough. I want column also. 0, 1, 2, 3. So third 0th row, third column is what is the value? If the value is 4, if somebody is clicking on 4, I have to close this window. I have to close this window. I need to decide that to go from this to this 0th row and which column. You need this 2 for loops. So this is for rows. I is equal to 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. Why 4? Because 4 rows are there. Why 4 here? 4 columns are there. That is the reason. 4 rows and 4 columns. So why I decided 4 rows and 4 columns? Is there any rule? No. You can decide any number of rows and any number of columns. 5 cross 5, 5 cross 6, 5 cross 8, anything you can decide. That is at your decision side. Okay. You can go and decide that. Or you can read this as an input also from the user as next line, and you can use it here. Okay. That is your wish. So you're going first for loop is okay, first row and which column. First row, which column, and what is the value that I need to store in this first row, first column. Whatever I'm reading, I'm storing there. Then I value will remain same. The j value will increment. Why j value? In the same row, second element, that is j is equal to 2. Second element, what value I need to store? Then j will increment. Until j get finished, until the first row is finished, it will not go to the second row. Are able to understand this? So that is why row and column, there are 2 loops. First, it will go to first column, right? First row, and all the columns will be scanned. All the columns will be scanned. Until all the scanners will be scanned, this value gets finished. Until this condition is over, it keeps on rotating in this for loop only. After this is filled, it go to second row. Then it will go to third row. Then it will go to fourth row. All the values get filled. Same way printing also is happening. So this goes to first row and prints all the elements, all the column elements, then go to second row, then go to third row, then go to fourth row. So that is how this printing also will happen. Are you able to understand this now? Easy?
So can't we write the print statement in the first for loops itself?
See, if you are writing in the first for loops, these values will not be read. No, you are scanning and placing every time. So if you are not, if you don't have values, then if you are printing, it doesn't make sense, right? First, you should have all the values read. Once all the values are there with you, then only it makes sense to have printing part of it, right? If you don't have all the elements scanned only, then there is no point of printing it, right? You are taking values from the user one by one. User is giving the value. If you have all the values with you, then printing will make sense. If you don't have values only with you, then printing doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's why first I'm reading all these values at once, and then I'm printing all of them again. Okay, so that is where this 2D matrix representation you will get. Okay, so there are a lot of interview questions that comes up with this. Okay, some of the interview questions, if you go to the channel, my YouTube channel, I will be pasting, I will be adding some of the interview questions. You can go and solve them. I think yesterday I've added 1 interview questions on 1D array, and today I will be adding 1 more on 2D array, and I think 2 more on 1D array and 2D array. Okay, so try to go and solve that. I have one more class planned for this as an interview perspective. It's called as pattern printing programs. Okay, pattern printing programs and all I have. So that I will be explaining after some days. Okay, so here if somebody says you need to go and search element 10 where like if the element 10 is present, you need to do something, or you need to count how many 10s are present in this. So if that kind of task is there, you know how to traverse, right? So here what you will do, you will go and check the value, right? You will go and check the value. If right screen of I or j, I and j, if this value is equal to some value 10, if this value is 10, you need to do some activity, like you need to count the value, or you need to do some activities they will give based on this for like nested for loops in 2D array. Okay, so you should have that understanding why number of rows, number of columns we are using, and what is the logical part of this. If you are able to understand this, then you can go and solve. I think today if you start solving the problems in ebox, or maybe in the channel I will have this notifications, right? There you can go and see I have added few problems. Try solving them. It makes a lot of understanding for you guys to start with. Okay, if you face any difficulties or you're not able to understand any of those, then you can always come back and ask me doubts. Okay. So I don't want to stretch more. I think this 1.5 hour session is enough for today. You go and practice 1D arrays and 2D arrays. Okay, then we'll come back and discuss what is jagged array. There's something called as jagged array. But to understand this, first you should understand 1D array and 2D array. So you just understand this. So tomorrow's class we'll start with jagged array and then go with the next topics. Okay. Any doubts before we close the session? Any doubts? Hello. If no
sir.
doubts,
No,
stop
sir.
record.